Hello. Hello,
Hello.
everyone. Hello, Monica.
Good morning. Good super
Good
early
morning.
morning to you.
It's super early. Where are you? What time zone are you joining us from today,
I'm
Monica?
joining us from the Pacific time zone, so in
Oh,
California. And yeah, it's early here, kids. But I'm here to finally see my family. This is the first time I've been home since very early 2020. So it's good to be able to, even if I have to be up early, it's good to be able to get to see, everybody. So it's
good.
good.
Well, thank you for being here at such an early time. I like your commitment. Welcome everybody else. Thank you, people who are watching this live and people who aren't watching this live. Welcome to the stream. My name is Rhys. This is this side. This is Monica, and we are on the Ubuntu community team at Canonical, and this is Ubuntu on Air, where we talk about community things, and sometimes we have guests on, sometimes it's just us, sometimes we play games. Who knows what happens, but that's what it is. So welcome to the stream. And welcome to the chat. I see French guy. I see Yannick in there saying hello and Big Pod on
Yannick
YouTube.
and Big Pod. Yay, the Ubuntu Mate gang. You all are
Mate guy,
awesome.
very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Before, just quickly, we're going to quick overview of what this one is because it's a little bit different. Normally we have a guest and then we talk about something specific, but this time we're doing a sort of a mid-cycle review and a Q&A. The most office hour I think we've done yet.
I think so.
I think so. So last week, Canonical, the organization, had a mid-cycle sprint where all the teams and the engineering teams and the product teams and everybody got together and started discussing their progress for the current cycle leading up to Impish Indri. Monica was a part of that. The team was a part of that. So we figured we'd take this opportunity to look back at the past 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Wow. Talk about all that we've been getting up to, and then maybe a little bit looking ahead to the future. And while we do it, we can answer any questions that come up in the chat and so on. So the first question that's come up is, how are you guys? How are you, Monica? How are you doing?
Surprisingly awake for this time in the morning. So yeah.
That's good.
But otherwise good.
Otherwise good. I'm good. I'm enjoying the nice sunny weather here in London, so that's fun. Yeah, so anyone watching live, please engage in the chat. Anyone not watching live, there's a link in the description to the discourse post about this, so you can see anything we talk about or have any discussions there. And also, before we begin, remember to set a reminder for 5 p.m. UTC tomorrow, where you can catch the latest desktop Indaba. I'm not sure who the guests are tomorrow. Do you know, Monica?
Marco Trevisan from the desktop team, who he has been working all the magic to get GNOME 40 into those daily Impish images. So if you have all your shell questions, that would be a great one to go to.
That would be a great one to do. And they did a talk at is it called Guadec the other day?
Guadec
as well. Yep. That was a really good presentation. I really enjoyed that. So something not to miss tomorrow for anyone interested in GNOME 40.
Yep. Well, except for those of you who might be in slightly not live-friendly time zones, like Vince, who's in Australia, but we will be recording that. So, and of course, there is the Rhys, could you link the desktop Indaba discourse post? So that way, if you have questions and you can't make it live tomorrow, you can put those questions in discourse. Yeah, because I'm just thinking of 1500 UTC, just trying to think of what time that is in some of our APAC time zones, and I have the feeling it's late or early.
But all of these Ubuntu on Air things are recorded, even when they're going live on Twitch. They're just recorded on YouTube. And if you go to, this is a helpful little link, if you go to UbuntuOnAir.com, it'll take you straight to the YouTube page where you can watch it all. So, should we start at the beginning? So, the first thing I wanted to talk about and discuss with you was right back in Oh, goodness, I don't even remember when it was. But we published a blog post titled Reintroducing the Community Team a
Yeah,
long time ago.
I know.
Oh, it feels like so long ago. So in that blog post, we talked about 4 goals that we wanted to achieve in the next 6 months or so. Those 4 goals were increasing contributions, building a more personable, positive community, empowering the community, and fostering more collaboration with Canonical and the Ubuntu community. How do you think that's going? How do you think that's gone?
I think that some of those goals are going really well. I think that some of the items in the roadmap, like the wiki, are still, they're kind of a big roadblock there, which we know. I know that the incentives and kind of that way of recognizing our contributors, that one has been going a little bit slow too. But I think that otherwise we have been making really solid starts. And considering that we hadn't had a community team for how many years? That we had a bit of a different roadmap because it was a roadmap, but also it's kind of the charter for our team. So I think that, if we could finish everything in 6 months, that would be amazing. But I think that if this is kind of a start to the new community team's mission, and some of those things that, I think that we should, while still trying to do as much as we possibly can, it's okay if we don't quite get everything on that list yet. Yet being the key word, because we really want to work on these things.
Well, I don't think we published the specific list of all the things we wanted to do this time because it was our first time around. But we had a long, ambitious list of things, and a lot of the things we'll touch on in a bit later. But there are things like the wiki and things like providing incentives for contributions, kind of thing, which we haven't addressed directly yet, but it's on the cards for the next 3 months, right?
Very
next
much
3
so.
months. Is that right? August,
yeah,
September?
I know. It's the passage of time is terrifying.
The passage of time is terrifying. Indeed. Yeah. Because those are the 4 things we wanted to do, and those are the 4 things that we've used to sort of guide our decisions here. I think we're doing a lot to make things more personable and more positive. I like these things that we're doing. I hopefully people feel that way. A lot of the stuff that we're doing in collaboration with Canonical is a little bit behind the scenes at the moment, which is a bit tricky. We did some sort of community focused workshops and meetings with some of the product teams to hopefully get them going. The Juju team has been doing a lot of community stuff, which has been lovely to see.
The Juju team is awesome. Pedro, how many office hours? That was, I think, that was July 1st. So that was, 4 weeks ago?
4 weeks ago, yeah.
I know. But Pedro, who is the product manager for the Juju team, he was our
product lead.
Product lead, thank you. He was our special guest during our community plenary during the sprint, but it's really exciting to hear what they're doing. Also the Maz team, which has been very cool. They've started doing office hours, and it's been really exciting to be getting to work more and more with the product teams, and of course the WSL team, which is just, they're awesome. And so we really can't wait to do more with all of these different teams that we have, because there's some people with just some great energy there, and it's been great to help them connect to their communities.
Definitely. I think in the next 3 months, I think that's what we want to do, right? We want to up the number of people coming on these streams and try and get other people to do their own streams on UbuntuOnAir. It's just we need to find people who have the time, and we need to provide an easy way for them to do it. But I think we're getting there. We're getting there slowly but surely.
Exactly.
Exactly. What were the other things? It was empowering community members. I think we're doing a little bit of that slowly but surely with things like the membership process and so on, and increasing contributors. Yeah, that's something. I think we need to address the foundations of some of the issues that we have still before we can really make a concerted effort to increase contributors. But I think we're working away at that.
I think so as well. We're having a really interesting discussion on the discourse now, and Rhys, if you happen to have a link to the one on kind of what is the roles of the Ubuntu community, and I think that was a really interesting question, because we know that like the support the Ubuntu community provides is one of, I think, the biggest strengths, and just how friendly the community is. And then, but we're kind of thinking of, it's like, okay, but what more? We don't want, we don't just want that to be the only role for the community. And so we really decided that should be a question that we've got to put out to the community. It's like, what is it that you, not only what is it that you think the community is doing now, but what do you want the community to be doing in the future? And so definitely, if you have any thoughts on that is still very much an ongoing conversation. So feel free to follow the discourse link. And even if you are watching this later, chances are there might still be a conversation. So still check out that link.
Or even if there isn't a conversation, start the conversation, right? Mm-hmm. I think whatever comes out of it, however much or however little, I think we'll use whatever's there to inform our decision making for the next cycle, and to really put our priorities in line with whatever the community wants us to do, right?
Yeah, I think it will be a lot easier the next time, because it's not, we can do a separate roadmap and not just like our team charter. Like, this is why our team exists, and here's what we're gonna do. So it's like, here's what we're specifically doing. And then I'm sure we'll have all those wonderful KPIs and things. So with graphs,
definitely.
Charts.
The other thing I wanted to mention with graphs and charts, exactly. The other thing I wanted to mention with all of that stuff is, at the beginning of all of this, we were and still are led by Ken, the engineering manager for the Ubuntu desktop, but we are hiring a director of community role, so if people are interested in that. And we've also got an open role for a developer advocate, developer community operations kind of thing. And I don't think that's live yet, but that's going to go live soon for people to apply for. So some of the other reasons why we haven't been able to get all of this stuff
for just two people.
Because it's just the two of us. Yeah. But we'll get there.
Okay, and if anybody else has that song in their head from the 80s, which, Rhys, I don't know if you remember that, being the youngin of our team. Yes. Rhys, there's some spam if you want to delete that comment, that YB link.
I'm not really sure how.
Well, thankfully, it's just like by follower spam and not like other sorts of spam. That must mean we're popular.
If it turns into anything else, I'll jump into the Twitch chat specifically and deal with it. But
okay. You too could have the opportunity to work with us. So don't worry, we will be sending out that job posting once it goes live. So
totally, it'll be super exciting. I'd do it if I could. Well, yeah, if I could make you away. Let me see if I can give you that. No, it doesn't look like it. Anyway, if it gets, I'm in there now, so I should be able to deal with things down the road.
Okay, good. Squash them.
Cool. And so at the beginning of all of this, when you joined Monica, one of the first things you did was look at the state of the community, which is kind of what we're trying to assess again now. I wonder if you'd like to talk about that.
Okay, so this is something that we are going to kind of put in a like in a published form, because this was meant to be kind of an internal doc. So we just, I don't think there will be many major changes that will need to be made, but I just want to talk with everyone who I interviewed for this to be like, okay, would you be okay with that being, being out in the public? All those kind of due diligence responsibility things. So it will be out. We are hoping by the end of this cycle. But it was, this was an assignment that I had to kind of research what has been the state of the Ubuntu community, what have been some of the transition points, and kind of maybe the not so great points of the community, and then what do community members imagine for our future and want for our future. And so that really influenced, and I think that talking to people about what they imagined for the community, and also knowing some of what helped the community work in the past, and what kind of led to some not great parts of our community, and trying to avoid things like that. Those really guided the creation of our 4 goals, because as we started to organize, people's wants, and as we started to organize what people said made the community great, like a culture of contribution, working in the open, kind of this feeling of excitement. We were like, these are big goals that kind of all of our smaller goals fit under. And so once we have that, so these 4 goals, these guiding posts that we had, really didn't come out of nowhere. They came out of this research with both kind of longstanding canonical people, but also longstanding community people, of just sitting down and chatting with them. So,
and then getting all of that together, getting all that information in one place.
Yes. Which, I mean, history nerd here, so that was like ridiculously fun. And I did read somebody's anthropology thesis on the early Ubuntu community, which was fantastic. So it was like, so I am very much looking forward to putting that out, probably in a long form discussion post, and having people's comments on it. And I think especially since we'll have other people who will probably be chiming in with their accounts and their kind of pieces of the story too. And so that seems to be something that, could also stand to be updated, like every year. Like to seem to be, it's like, okay, just, where are we now? And because we found just how much things change and how much people change too. And so even people who've been around since the very start, you aren't the same person you are 15 years ago. One would hope. So
one would hope, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a few things coming into the chat, which I'll just talk about specifically now. One from a little while ago, which actually I'm going to tie into Yannick's sort of main thing on the Twitch chat. For those people on YouTube who won't see this, but he mentioned that before Monica came on board, he didn't even know there was someone in the community team he could reach out to from an external point of view. Monica is the entry point to the community team, and that's exactly right. Monica is the entry point to the community team. Monica being the community representative, that's what we want it to be. Both of the community team's role on a sort of broader, higher level thing is to facilitate and to help and to manage and encourage things in the community and get things going. Monica's role is exactly that with community members, and my role as a sort of developer advocate is more working with organizations and partners and things like that. So what you said before, Yannick, about Flutter, for example, I talked to the folks over on the Flutter team. We could totally do. Sorry, you got the wrong side there.
I was trying to point to you, and I think I failed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, okay. So we're doing a couple of things with the Flutter folks at the moment, which I hope will come into light in the next month or so. And if that is the case, hopefully I'll be able to get them on a stream like this, and we can join the Flutter train. But yeah, so if Monica is the clear entry point, that's great. But also it would be good if we can also encourage people to see the discourse and other places as a good entry point. But if you're looking for a person to speak to, Monica is the person to reach out to.
That's true.
That's true. The other thing that came in was from Vince. As a relative community newbie, it feels like there are a lot of potential entry points. Good to have options, but at times it's confusing which place is better to get to for a particular thing. That's true. That's a lot. There's a lot of people saying that, and I can't really tell you what because I want it to be a surprise. But we're working on a thing that'll hopefully make that easier in the coming months and really sort of streamline the entry points. So that should be good.
Yeah, and we also have a new head of documentation at Canonical. And oh my gosh, we've both gotten to speak with him, and he is fantastic. So we're both really excited about kind of this new focus on documentation on the inside. And I think, are both pretty confident that will kind of spill over into the community too. And I think definitely with what you have planned and with some of the energy we have from new people who want to be involved with documentation, but also starting to ask people who have historically been involved. It's like, we know, I mean, we're almost a 20-year-old project. We have a lot of documentation baggage. and we know that clarifying and cleaning that up to get an onboarding guide that makes sense and is updated. And, you know, like there's some docs that are like last updated in 2012, and you're just like, yeah. Like, I think think there was one that was like, talk to Jono. And I'm like, don't talk to Jono. It's like, I mean, he's
Jono with this.
I mean, he's a great person to talk to, but he'll be like, I don't work there anymore. So we do know that it's two things. It's some of the documentation is horribly outdated, and then there's just so much. And so we're hoping, especially with this kind of trying to think about not only how do we make documentation that works, but that's going to last and is easy for the community to create and maintain without having like a formal kind of like, you know, that can outlast individual contributors and teams. So it's
even so with the sorry, please go on. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, I think that I was done with that thought.
Okay. Well, with on top of what you were just saying, with the introduction of the new director of documentation inside Canonical, there's been a couple of interesting discussions on discourse around updating documentation, and one that we recently created the other day to talk more specifically about ways we can improve the documentation, which I'll put in the chat in a moment, which I'm going to make sure, well, I shouldn't say this, but I will. I'm going to make sure that the new director of documentation gets an eye in and looks at and considers, because while he makes this plan and he puts these ideas together, hopefully it can bleed or flow into the community as well. I know one of the things that have been put in here already, that's just to Twitch, let me do that to YouTube as well. One of the ideas that have come up already is the, I might be saying this wrong, but the diataxis methodology. Diataxis methodology, which is something that he's a big proponent of. So hopefully,
which he kind of created. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he helped. Yeah. So hopefully we'll be in good hands and things will go from there.
Yeah, he's doing some internal workshops or us to have us think about documentation, not just in terms of tools, but in terms of, how do you make this like a core part of your culture and have it so it's clear and logical and also is driven by user needs, which is, it's very cool. And I hate to be making you the one to have to post all these things, Rhys, but we can definitely, but there's a website too that kind of goes over the framework, and it's extremely useful.
Well, so I'll put that link in later, maybe. But I think this is a good. We haven't talked about this, so we'll talk about it now. But we should get him on the stream. Maybe he can do a little workshop on it.
Heck yes.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and just
I'm gonna make a note of that.
Yes, I mean, he's only been here for 3 weeks. So.
Right. So I don't want to ask him to talk about his plans or anything like that yet because he's still getting up to speed. But it could be if he'd like. We'll ask him. We'll ask him if he wants to talk about the methodology and so on.
Yeah, and I think it would definitely. This is something that I would love to see in the future too, to have like canonical and community equivalents, kind of like. Yeah. So have someone who's involved with documentation on the community side and have him. And I think that that those would be kind of neat, kind of like what they did with Dan, which, hello, Dan, when he was on the desktop in Daba.
Exactly.
So you have
Dan was nice and late. So thank you for joining though, Dan. I know you were late, but that's okay. Sorry, carry on.
Okay. There's no, people can come late to these things. It's okay.
I know. We're
not going to shame them.
And said he was late, so I thought I'd shame him a little bit.
Okay, normally, for any of you listening later, we know Dan. He's a very good friend, and so yes, so we normally don't shame attendees to the stream.
Indeed.
Only if we know you very, very well.
I don't even know you well enough. Moving on to the next thing. So after actually, did you have anything more to say about documentation or about the state of the community before I move on?
No, I think that we can keep going, and especially if people have more questions, then they can chime in on the discourse. And I think pretty much everyone in this stream knows how to contact me. Good. Great.
Mm-hmm. So the next sort of thing that came along after all of that was with 1604 going end of life, with support reaching
into
an end.
Extended. Well, they're going into ESM.
So, exactly. So the long-term release of 1604 going end of support, but ESM came into fruition, where if you're still using 1604, you can get security updates and things sent to your machine. What we wanted to do around that time was we worked with the Snapcraft team, and we worked with a little bit of the marketing team to make sure that the way for people to switch over to using ESM and make sure that people were aware of those kind of things, especially for snaps, because it was something that wasn't well documented or well communicated. And so we worked together with Igor from the advocacy team and the Snapcraft team, and a little bit over the community to make sure those things are in place. The wiki has been updated. The product manager, Nikos, did a little Q&A on the forum, which no one asked him any questions. So I'm assuming we did a good enough job of communicating the thing.
Of course.
But I haven't seen any difficulty or complaints with it. So hopefully went in the right direction there. I can't remember, were you around for that bit? Were you working on something else?
That was something that just the tail end was happening when I got hired.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That sounds right.
Yeah.
Which sort of coincided with the next thing I wanted to just mention, the departure of Mr. Pope of Allen, which
and his cats.
And his cats, which is the main thing. We want to focus on the departure of his cats, which is why one of the roles on the team is opening up to sort of backfill that. I think that's important to mention. I don't really know what else to say about it.
Yeah, and it's just because I noticed when we were going over our roadmap, it's like, oh yeah, that was something that was going to be Popey's responsibility. So, but but it's good to know that he's, doing awesome work at, oh God, where did he go? Crap.
He's working on a tool called Telegraph now, right?
Telegraph it's something DB anyway, but we are happy. Influx DB. But we are happy that he seems to be thriving at his new place. We miss him and his extremely photogenic, camera-friendly cats. So if you know someone who is, and when we fill this community operations, because we're looking for someone with that breadth of technical knowledge too, which I will be the first to admit I don't have. So,
and I don't have a tremendous amount of. So yeah, it's something that we need to sort of fill the gap.
Mm-hmm. And so so even though it did bring the community team down to 2, I think we just kind of took that as a challenge to be like, okay, well, we're still going to do the best that we can as this little dynamic duo here.
Totally.
Yannick, it isn't live yet, but trust me, you will get that link when it's live.
Yeah, everybody will.
Oh yes.
We're just waiting on some last approvals from somewhere. It'll come soon. Following that was relatively close to LAS, the Linux App Summit. I know you had a hand in some of the organization of that, right, Monica?
I was going to be involved with some of the social stuff. That's mostly what I do. So.
I see a bit of the social stuff, but it was.
But you presented.
Both myself and Igor on the Snap advocacy team did a little presentation. Igor talked about some tips and tricks of making snaps and snapping applications, and I did a little sort of story conversation about how you could build applications for the ARM ecosystem, for ARM architectures, and really sort of the opportunity that might be there. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll see if I can find the YouTube videos for this.
Ooh, that would be great.
But that was good fun. It was my first Linux App Summit, which was so I was really interested to see what was going on and how things were playing out. And what I really, really liked about it was how some of the presenters were very, very passionate about what they were talking about, and you could see it in their presentations, and it was really, really good to see.
Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know what the Linux Application Summit is, it is a joint conference put out by GNOME and KDE, who are the main desktop environments, and it's a fairly new conference. It's only been going on for 2 or 3 years now.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. But it's really great to see people from across distros just working on how to make apps for desktop Linux. And considering that I think there's mostly desktop Linux users here, then we do like to have apps. It kind of makes things nice. I mean, you could be a command line purist, which there might be too, and that's fine. But, let's get some GUI love, as a certain podcast says.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. As a certain podcast says, exactly. Even if you're a command line purist, you need applications. Applications are very important for everything. Speaking of other presentations like that, there was also I also was invited to the Singapore Computing Society's event.
Oh, yeah.
Where I spoke a little bit there about open source and a bit about Ubuntu and community and how they can. Is there anything but the CLI? Yes, there is. GUI love, exactly. Anyway, the Singapore Computing Society, where we talked a little bit about open source, and that was really, really interesting because I got to speak with representatives from SUSE and from Red Hat as well, and they were talk about all the sort of different open sourcey goodness things that they were up to and that Ubuntu might be up to. Again, I'll see if I can find the video for that, but that was good fun. It was nice working with those guys. It's not something that we get to do often, so when we do it, I think it's good fun.
Yeah, and it's and I think that this is a point we're going to come to later, but kind of building good relationships with other distros, whether they're kind of enterprise distros or community ones, has kind of been one of those main parts of our roadmap items.
Yeah, exactly. Which was good fun. And then not terribly long ago was the KDE Academy, where I don't think either of us had a presentation slot in there, but Igor had a presentation slot. Igor on the staff advocacy team, and I had a little sort of mention. I was there for the conference. I was watching things, and I had a little sort of sponsor thing where I just give it like a few minutes of words. Nice. But it was nice to support, because it's a really good event, and I think Canonical will be continue to support all of those things in the future.
We were sponsors for Guadec also.
Guadec as well,
and that was great. And I know we had Heather and we had other people doing kind of sponsor office hours at Guadec. And then speaking of presentations, I'll be speaking possibly in person. We'll have to see how things are going at the Open Source Summit in Seattle at the end of September. So,
which will be pretty awesome.
And it's all about live streaming and building open source communities. So I'm still trying to find a way to see if they'll let me live stream my talk on Twitch.
Oh,
I don't know.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if it would happen, but it would be cool. Or maybe I'll get the recording and live stream that. I don't know, but
That's a good idea.
I'm excited to do that, and it's great to see kind of this Canonical community team representation and out there. And I did listen to your talk about kind of like the Snap user journey, and I really hope you post that, because it was a great talk.
I think that's a good idea. We can put together a little sort of conference playlist on the channel and put things in there. That's a good idea. Yeah. And similarly, I think at a similar time I'll be presenting at the ARM Developer Summit, where I'm going to go in with Valentine, one of the product managers, and do a bit of a
nice
product demo.
Yeah, and definitely. This should be maybe something on Discourse too. If any of you are giving talks at professional or community conferences, and especially if it's got things to do with Ubuntu, then oh my gosh, we'd love to have a place where we could go watch your videos, kind of go attend them in person. So that would be great.
That would be great. And we could put them all on UbuntuOnAir. Speaking of UbuntuOnAir, what a terrible segue. The next thing that I wanted to mention was the next thing that we did was we set up this channel. We started setting up UbuntuOnAir and getting people in. We made that little bit of a plan. I think I've said this a lot, but I think we've sort of found our feet a little bit now. We've got a little bit of a routine. So I want to start trying to grow what we're doing. But what do you think of it so far? What do you folks listening think of UbuntuOnAir so far as well?
Yeah. So while I talk, you guys definitely write comments, and then we can post that. We can post those up. I think that we have so far gotten off to a good start. I think you're right. I think I would love to see like a calendar with kind of guests for the next few weeks. We do have our guests for next week, which is awesome. But I know that one thing Rhys and I both would love to see is and people are saying that our discoverability still needs help, and I think that that's true. So
actually, I think they would finish your sentence, and then we can sort of look at the comment.
But what I would love to see, and I think that what we both want, is to have streams that eventually don't even have either of us, that are just community run. that you all can come to us and say, I have this idea for this talk or workshop or thing, and we just say, okay, here, let us show you the ropes and have at it.
I think even better is if they didn't have to come to us. If we could get some trusted members, maybe get like a group of UbuntuOnAir people who have all of the credentials, and they could just vet and put things on as things go. I think we can relatively confidently commit to having some kind of process for that by the end of the next 3 months. I think by October. So fingers crossed. Go ahead.
And I just wanted to thank Yannick, because he pointed out that he hosts Ubuntu on Air on his Twitch stream, which means that anybody who clicks on his channel will see it's like, oh, French Guy CEH is offline. Why don't you watch this? And it's playing us live. So hello, everybody who's watching this on the host of Yannick's stream. So definitely,
which is great. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. But definitely finding ways to kind of get that schedule a little more findable. So
yeah, I think the comment there was playlist would be great because discoverability is a problem. I look for this stuff and miss it, so list would be help. Discoverability is a sort of problem that I think a lot of people face especially in the sort of Linux and open source world. But a YouTube list would do well. The more people we get to see this, the more Google juice it gets, the more videos we put up here, the more discoverable they'll be. So I think a playlist would make a lot of sense. And the more, as long as we keep doing this on a consistent basis, discoverability will get easier.
Oh, and are we using the new? Oh, we should check to see if we're using the new Linux tag on Twitch.
We should check to make sure that we're doing that. We'll do that straight away. Discoverability at the start is a serious problem. Yeah, it's a serious problem. But I think we're quite lucky in that we're talking to some of the Ubuntu community already. And so hopefully growth in the long term will be a lot easier than for new starters like that, you know. It would also be cool to have lists of conversation events. Yeah, totally. It would be all the lists and playlists and things like that. Yeah, would definitely be a great idea. I just wanted to, while we're on UbuntuOnAir, I wanted to mention all of the awesome guests we've had on.
Oh my goodness, we've had great guests.
We've had great guests. We had folks from Ubuntu France. We had Olive and Rudy talking about music festivals. I'm reading over here on the channel playlist, by the way, people, so I'm not just ignoring everything. Talking about their shirts, their art, music festivals. We had some folks, the one that you ran about the Ubuntu membership.
And that was Dan Simmons and Diogo Constantino.
That was a really good one, talking about their sort of membership journey. We had folks from Ubuntu Korea talking about UbuCon Asia. We had Yongbin and oh my goodness, and I forgot my other guest's name, but it was a great name and it was a great conversation, which I was a really apologize to them for right now.
Also, your thumbnail for that talk was awesome. Just saying.
Everyone showing off their t-shirts. Well, hey, it was pretty great.
Yeah.
Then we talked to a couple of artists from the Ubuntu Hideout Discord server.
Yes, we talked to Rolly and Charlotte, who not only are artists but who won their desktop wallpaper competition that they did there.
Which was really, really cool to talk to them. It was really interesting to see what they had going on as well. That was lovely.
Oh, Rhys, you have somebody. Thank you.
It was Ian. It was Ian. Thank you.
Ian.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you.
Youngbin, thank you so much.
I knew that. I'm just not good at names. And then we talked to Pedro Zahini, who you mentioned before, about Juju.
Yes.
We spoke to Dave Jones and William Wilson about Raspberry Pi, and we spoke to Ask Ubuntu's own. I'm so bad at names.
Zana.
Yes.
Yes, that was fantastic. That was a really, really great talk. about someone who went from kind of relative newcomer to Ask Ubuntu Mod.
Yes, which was really, really great to see.
Yep, and then we had the tutorial of tutorials, and then we had the game afternoon night last week, which Big Pot actually was my guest on that one. I was just like, hey, join the stream, and we did some really hilarious Pictionary type stuff.
Yep. Definitely. And I remember watching that one back and thinking it looked like good fun. It was a shame that I missed it. But good job.
Well, we'll do more gaming events. Don't worry.
We will. We've got a comment in here saying the Flutter team does a great job at marketing small videos for new stuff, articles on Medium, pair programming. Let's take inspiration from there. Let's absolutely take inspiration from there. The trick, though, is the Flutter team, I know because I've met some of them, is huge. They've got a lot of people, well, comparatively huge. They've got a lot of people on this kind of thing. So we're taking it step at a time. But yes, those are all things we want to try and do. Marketing small videos like this, articles on Medium. I think we're not looking straight away at Medium, but we definitely want to start getting articles and things in the right place while not abusing Planet Ubuntu as a great sort of perk for members. That's crucial there. Pair programming, absolutely. Yeah, it's all coming in time. And if you want to help, if you want to start helping us set up those kinds of things, open a thread on Discord and we'll talk about it, because I'd love
that. Would be great. Yeah, and we'd love to see the community put these ideas out and have us be like, that's great. How can we help make this happen?
Yeah. Okay. We've only got 15 minutes left, so I'm going to try and speed through some of the other things that we wanted to talk about. Along with Ubuntu on Air came the desktop Indabas. The next one of which I'll plug again is happening tomorrow afternoon at 5 p.m. UTC. So tune in; it'll be fun. Talking about GNOME 40 with Marco, who's been working on that.
Yes.
The next thing we want to talk about was some of the work, some of the outreach we've done, that you've done more specifically, Monica, and we've done a little bit of together with the flavors and the other distros. Do you want to speak about that?
So this was something that, again, community conferences really help you make contacts across distributions, because when I started from doing the Seagull conference, which, speaking of, if you want to present at a awesome community conference, their call for papers is open. I got to know Ben Cotton, who is kind of one of our equivalents at Red Hat. So who works to kind of bridge Red Hat and Fedora. And so he had been thinking of making this kind of discourse for people in leadership roles in the different distros to talk to each other, to kind of deal with, because we face a lot of similar challenges, like how do we get new contributors? How do we keep them engaged? How do we move towards, kind of having more modern communication tools, but not losing people on the old ones? So we found out for all our differences, we deal with a lot of similar stuff. And so we've had some good conversations on that. And there's actually something that I need to approach them about maybe doing some mental health and open source contribution forums that actually one of our community people brought forward to me. And I was just like, that is such an important conversation to always be having, but to certainly bring out at certain times. And so we've had, a few things that have happened with other distros, but I think that we've handled them well, and we're trying to, and I think we've made a very good start for having us know, for being, again, that public face, that when someone's like, oh, Ubuntu, blah, 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 it's like, oh, wait, I know Monica there. Or Rhys there. Let me just run let me run this question by them, and be sure that everything is okay. And, and I think that, making it so that we're people first, has been really helpful. And I think that, I'm going to get to meet more of these people in person. And I think that's just, we're all working towards a common good. We're doing it in different ways, but we all have similar goals. So I think it's, especially the people that recognize that it's better to kind of work together where we can and be supportive, rather than just being like, oh, this distro is awful and everybody who works on it is awful. Because that just, Michael Hall, who is one of, what's that?
Sorry, keep going.
Oh, one of our former community team leads said that you don't, your candle doesn't shine any brighter by blowing other people's candles out. And so that's definitely something that Rhys and I think both agree with.
Definitely. And especially in the Linux world where it should be distros upping distros because Linux is Linux, right? Mm-hmm. But the trick there is to understand, I think, that even if it's a company or an organization or a distro or anything makes a decision that you don't necessarily like, they've probably made it for a reason. And so it's probably usually better to find out why they made the decision before getting too upset.
Yeah.
Cool. Similarly to people getting upset, there was sort of the IRC debacle recently as well. Do you want to speak to that, Monica? I know that was so well done.
That was a huge thing thrown onto our roadmap. But I think so for those of you who have been living under a rock or don't have much to do with IRC, Freenode, who has been our IRC provider since the community started, it had a hostile takeover basically, and thankfully I think, and so we ended, what the end result was that we migrated from Freenode to LiberaChat. And this was really stressful. It was a lot of work for everybody involved. But what I think one strength of our community that it showed was that everything worked together. The IRC Council, who had a lot of people who were on Freenode staff who kind of saw some weirdness coming down the road, wrote a proposal to the community council saying, we think we're going to need to move if this pans out. Can we start to look into what that would take? And then the community council got to us and said, hey, this change might be coming. So can you, find out, make sure that the resources are there for if we have to make this move. And so having all those three parts of the community and Canonical working together meant that, yes, this was a pain in the butt to change, but it was a change that reflected the community, because this was all voted on by community governance groups. And then we just basically said, okay, you need our help to make this happen. Let's get that done. But also it was something that without, having this new community council who's very active, very much gets stuff done, and this IRC council that was on top of things, that this would have been so much more painful. It would have just been unimaginable. And so I think the reason it went so well was highly because of the IRC council and the community council. So thank you. If you're listening, thank you. You all did great.
Well, they all did great. You did great. I think it is a really good testament to these things, these committees, these organizations within organizations that exist, and how well they're doing together. I think Dan's comment here really sort of says it. It was a massive move, but from the user point of view, it was fairly easy, which says an awful lot, right? So if the community team didn't exist, it would have been a lot more hassle from Canonical's perspective. I don't know how things would have gone if the councils hadn't been respun or restarted recently. It would have been a nightmare. And it really shows how much people care, right? Because people don't just do a big thing like that, a big move like that. It doesn't just happen overnight. It doesn't just happen with a click of the fingers. It took a lot of people, a lot of coordinating, and a lot of great work from from everybody to get it done. So yeah, good job.
Yes.
Moving down the list. It looks like I'm just gonna touch on the next few things because we're running out of time. One of the things that also happened recently was some progress with RISC-V. We got some Ubuntu support for RISC-V. One of the things that happened over in the Snap world was the Snap Crafters group, led by Igor and supported by me. Has been sort of progressing. We have a relatively large group, more than I was expecting, in the sort of core group now. And when Igor gets back from his holiday, we hope to keep progressing that and keep building it up and keep moving it forward. Dan, who's in the chat, and Yannick now are both one of those. So,
yay!
Yeah. There's the wallpaper competition, which is still going on for another 22 more days, which is there's so many wallpapers. I think there's over 100 submissions by now. A lot of them are they're all very, very good. I'm really interested to see how it goes. And I really like the idea that we don't have to vote. It's the community vote. So that's good.
Yep.
And it's brought some really wonderful people out of the woodwork from inside Canonical who want to contribute in this way as well, which has warmed my heart.
Yeah, I love seeing all this is the first time so-and-so has posted. And it's like, yes.
Thank you for posting so-and-so. Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing is some of the work that's been going on with the CC and with various people around reworking the membership application process and figuring that out. And we're almost there. We're just getting a couple of things sorted out inside Canonical to make it happen. And then we'll do a whole shebang and hopefully get maybe even stream, but hopefully spotlight some of the next members, the new members, and make it awesome.
Yeah, and that was all entirely a community proposal that Mark Johnson put forward, I think in February, early March, a while back, kind of very much towards the start of this. And then that went through the community council and it went through a big discussion on Discourse. So we really got to know what the community and its governance was kind of feeling on this. And then we did the conversations with like our legal department and with the Launchpad team. And so it seems like by the time we do this talk again in about 3 months, we should have kind of a new, less technically inclined way of signing the code of conduct. And also, I think having a new focus on having code of conduct questions in the interview, saying, hey, do you know kind of what the code of conduct means? And, and that it's like, do you promise to follow it? And do you, because we want to be good ambassadors for the project and you just want to be a decent human being. I mean, we should all be doing that all of the time, but sometimes it's not nice to get a little reminder of, don't be jerks.
Don't be jerks. Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to say as well, though, that it took a long while from February to around now to arrive at that, but usually things wouldn't take that long. If someone has a project or something that they want to do and they want our help with, we'll be able to make it happen a lot quicker than that. This one took so long. This one took amusingly long.
But I think that it actually didn't do too bad because of everybody who it had to go through. It had to go, exactly. I mean, this had to go kind of all the way through. And so I think for a change of this order, because this has been how we've signed the COC since 2004. So this was a huge change to make. And so I think that, yes, for some things especially things that might not need as much clearance, we can help you get those done so much faster. But I think this for us was a good experience of what does it take to kind of get this level of change championed and move through. And yeah.
But I think even if this were to happen again, if we just start again now, I think it would be a lot quicker because of what a lot of what the delay was was effectively waking up or reprodding some folks or some bodies or some organizations or some committees or whatever to sort of engage. And the discussion had to take a long time to make sure things were landed. We had to make sure that we were talking to the right people and opening the right communication channels. And so if this were to happen again, I think it would happen a lot quicker.
Yeah. But Dan, thank you for being patient. And also hi to everyone who just came in at the end.
Yes, yeah, welcome, hello. So that's all of the things there. We have about 20 seconds, so we'll just completely whiz through some of our plan for what's going to happen.
We can also go a little bit over if we want to. I don't know if you have a meeting you need to go to, and I'm up now, so.
You're up now. Well, we'll go a little bit over, but I think we definitely want to keep these things to around an hour. Otherwise, it's tricky. But so, some of the things we want to get done that I've just pulled off of our roadmap for the next 3 months. These are things that we're already working on or things that we're going to be working on. And undoubtedly, along the next few months, new things will come up, things that we have to deal with. And so whether all of these things get done or not is up for discussion, but we'll see. And some of them, I'm not sure if you want to mention, Monica, since they're one of the things that you're sort of looking at. So I'll go through some of the things that I know that I want to mention. So there's we want to start putting together more contributor guides and making that part of an inbuilt thing within the project so that people have a very easy way to start getting started and start contributing, start helping and communicating. I think that's super important for all open source projects, is having this really good onboarding process. We mentioned before we're going to work on the wiki. We're going to hopefully continue to keep hammering away at making sure and trying to get people to move to a solution, whether that solution is a new wiki, whether that's improving the current wiki or something else. It's a discussion that we're always having internally and that we're trying to push for.
Always prodding.
And we're always prodding. Yeah, exactly. We mentioned before as well, we want to get the community more on UbuntuOnAir. So whether that's people doing streams without us or getting more guests and so on. Because I think this has been a really good thing, a really good landmark, really good project. And we've seen some nice steady growth on it. So as long as we keep these things consistent, I think it'll be good. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was at the end of this cycle, and then for the next cycle, we're going to be opening up our workflow a lot more. So everything that I've just discussed and so on, we're hoping to publish openly and publicly for everyone to see what we're working on and our goals. We're going to maybe even publish our sort of Trello board, which can be a little bit difficult because of the nature of the things we work on. I work on a lot of projects that are sort of under NDAs with organizations, and we have some sensitive information, things like GDPR and so on in there. So we'll work it out. But one of our goals for next cycle is to work entirely openly as much as we possibly can.
Yeah. And I know that this is actually a great way to finish because it is a segue into next week's, which is our late office hours. So that's 1800 UTC, I think. Yeah. And we are going to be talking to Thomas Ward, who is one of our community council, but is also really involved with our core devs and the developer membership board. And so for those of you who have been thinking about maybe applying to the MOTUs, or if you are, which is the Masters of the Universe, which are the people who are responsible for packages in the universe category, who are extremely important, and especially for our flavors. And so if you've been thinking of really kind of stepping up your involvement, especially if you're involved with packaging, so Big Pod, this would be a great thing for you to go to, because Big Pod is one of our packagers for Ubuntu Mate, and packaging is one of those jobs that we cannot thank people who do the packaging enough. And so this is an important part of community contribution, that it's kind of fallen a bit by the a side, we want to help bring this back. And so Thomas is going to be talking about, kind of what is the process to become a Motu and then a core dev. And that's someone with permission rights to update patches to main, which is huge. And so one of those parts is that of our roadmap is that we want to really kind of get that culture of community development back. And so I think having a conversation with him is going to be a great start.
Definitely. Awesome. I look forward to that. It's going to be a fun one. Hopefully in that time we'll have some more things to talk about. But to wrap up, in the meantime, if you have any thoughts, if you're not watching this live, if you have any thoughts on things we've said or any questions you might have, post them in the Discourse thread, the link to which should be in the doobly-doo description below. If you have any links, similarly, put them in there. We can put them in this video.
Please do.
And once again, I'll remind everybody that the next desktop Indaba is happening tomorrow at 5 p.m. UTC, where Heather, the wonderful Heather, will be speaking to Marco. And one of us or two of us might be there.
One of us or two of us will be there, yeah. But there will be someone from the community team there. So
it'll be a nice discussion, hopefully centered around 40, where people can ask their questions and learn some things. So with that, I think we'll say goodbye. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for watching live or watching after the fact. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye.